Just because you lose doesn't mean you're a bum or a fraud. I've seen all of these characters and Ilya Taporia get called frauds for losing the top tiers. Just because you lose doesn't make you a complete bum trash can like I've seen some people say. Kashimo gets the worst, but let's go down the list. Let's start with Ilya Taporia, not exactly a character, but a real person. He lost recently to Justin Gaethje. It was a bad loss, right? But I've seen some people say that, oh, he got fraud check. No, he just lost. Losing to a good fighter doesn't make you a fraud for just losing. Gaethje's a fraud too because he lost to Khabib. Except Khabib is also a great fighter. Just losing doesn't make you a fraud. It depends who you lose to, and also a ton of other things. The logic of losing just making you a fraud is flawed, and especially when it's like a hard loss, like something like Conor versus Aldo. Is Aldo a fraud for losing in one hit? No, he's just not. Once the competition gets so high, these losses aren't bad. They're just still losses, right? People are making out like if you lose, it's just like the end for you. It's done. What I'm getting at is that losing to top tiers isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Losing to a top tier is exactly what it is. Losing to a top tier opponent. I don't think enough people give credit how much it takes to actually take on these big fights, especially on like championship fights, when sometimes they don't even need to do it. Either way, let's move on to Kashimo. I think Kashimo gets a lot of bad cred because his only on-screen win is Panda, and then I would say tying to, Hakari because, he didn't use his full power, but either way, it's a loss to Hakari. I still feel, even despite being the biggest villain in the series, right, the main villain, Sukuna, he is just slightly underrated, that people don't give the credit that it is to challenge him, purposely at least. Sukuna is the strongest sorcerer in history. It just is a fact. Purposely wanting to challenge him should get you more cred than it does, right? And he also landed hits on him. I know this doesn't sound that crazy, but not a lot of the cast can actually do that. And I send them flying and things like that. And people will say, well, this is an injured Sukuna, right? Yes, but also this injured Sukuna would still like annihilate 90% of the cast. In Shibuya, Sukuna challenged Jogo to like a challenge, right? Land one hit and I'll do one bidding for you guys, right? And he couldn't do it. Sukuna was just having fun. Yeah, and people say, well, Sukuna praised him. He also still couldn't land a hit. Jogo isn't a bum either, don't get it wrong, but he is getting overhyped. I'm just saying, Kashimo is still underrated for his performance, despite it, being memed. It's Sukuna. It's the strongest sorcerer in history. Of course he's gonna lose. He wasn't gonna win. But let's move on to Sukune from Baki. In the part Baki Do, the sumo arc, Sukuna is introduced, right, as the main villain. He actually has a decent showing. He does a lot of amazing feats of strength, and he beats Olivia. Olivia, who is at least top 10 in the Baki-verse, at least bare minimum. Probably 15, most likely 10, I think. Maybe top 5, maybe that's pushing it, but he's a strong fighter, right? So beating him gives him cred. To the main point, he loses to Baki in 9 seconds. And on paper, that sounds really bad, right? Like, pretty bad loss, right? 9 seconds, that's crazy. Until you actually read the part and not watch it from YouTube Shorts, where Baki explains that he acted subconsciously, right? His body just reacted and did what was the strongest and best way to move to win, right? He said he got tricky to win. But Sukune takes it humbly and says, nah, you just won with technique. Losing to a top tier in one hit or 9 seconds is bad, right? It sounds terrible. But not a lot of people give it credit for the fact that all of these challengers are really strong too. Credit should go both ways, more to the winner, of course, right, the challenger. But I think something that is completely underrated is how much the champ makes their worst enemies, right? I don't feel like enough of them get enough credit for that. And what do you mean by that? Is like, whenever the champ has a challenger, he sends that challenger into a state where they want to get so much stronger that they win, right? When Gaethje won, right, and he had his post-match speech, right, he said that he imagined he would lose. This is probably the strongest Gaethje, right? Funny to use like power scaling terms, but like this is the Gaethje at his best, right? Most likely, right? And he owes Ilya for that, weirdly enough. Like the guy he just beat his ass of, right? Just another reason why these guys aren't bums or frauds, right? Losing the top tiers doesn't make you a bum. It doesn't mean you got fraud checked. It's just a loss.